Good evening and welcome to Edessa, the Dark Crusade. Tonight's scene takes place in the small room for socializing above Omar's shop. Currently, there is two people sitting in this place. To the Sombra. They are talking. Small talk, but talking. One of them is Irene, the other one is Madeline.
Oh,
But the
Good
two
talk,
of
that.
yeah, but the two of them are about to receive company. I am quite certain of.
Indeed, to spare you small talk, Johanna will show up right then. She comes drifting up the stairs at a pace which is a little more stoically measured than usual. She kind of floats around like a toreador, but today she's a little angry. So you hear her feet on the stairs before she arrives. And she pauses at the top of the stairs to look around and see who's here.
Well, to the Sombra are sitting, and Madeline will get up as soon as she sees you and just welcome you inside. Ah,
Good evening, Madeline. She crosses towards the other woman and leans forward to kiss her on either cheek briefly.
I mean, Irene would have gotten up just slightly slower than Madeline.
I hope the
Good evening.
night finds you well.
It finds me still walking. Not
Oh.
quite well.
Is this what seems to be the problem?
The florist is playing games with my people again.
Ah, I see. As soon as we will put a stop to this, the better.
Indeed.
Dangerous distraction, but well,
Dangerous and disgusting.
was it as elaborate as before, or
Worse, perhaps. More victims.
terrifying?
Indeed.
I do not understand how this person would be able to do some of these things in this magnitude without anyone at least be able to catch up on to some of this. I suppose that is part of the mystery, no?
Indeed.
It is good to see you again. I must admit I do have a thing I must ask you of. Ask of you, sorry.
She gestures. Do you mind if I join you?
Of course not. Please sit down.
She offers Irene a smile as she takes the seat. Despite her pique, she is still courteous.
Irene will smile back very warmly and even bats her eyelashes a few times before she sits down as well.
Please ask away.
Well, what I propose is more of an exchange, you see. For these last, I do not know anymore, quite a few years, I have been so focused on my own pursuits that I have forgone the teachings of a broader sense, an understanding of other clans than my own. And I must admit I would love to be able to learn of your clan if you would be permitted, I would, well, suggest an exchange. We would teach each other.
To learn of my clan, how interesting. Of course, we're not known for our secrets like many clans.
I am not proposing you would give up any real pertinent information. I simply wish to learn more. Well, you could consider me fascinated by your kind, your clan.
I'm sure the Toreador have a lot of history that they are proud of.
You're quite right. And I should warn you, Madeline, once we get started, it's difficult to stop us.
Oh, I'm quite hopeful that that is the case.
Is there anything in particular?
Well, just general history, what you have come to know. It would please me much, and, well, spending more time with you or in your presence is a reward enough in itself, would you not say?
Of course. Likewise. I would certainly be interested in spending time telling stories, trading stories. That sounds like many enjoyable nights.
Well, it is. It is settled. Then.
What follows is heavy footfalls coming up the stairs. And eventually, Gerard will appear at the landing and then step into the meeting place. We'll look to all assembled and then give a chivalrous tilt and bow of the head.
Johanna returns the head tilt. It's almost a seated curtsy. And smiles. Gerard, what a pleasure.
Good evening, Gerard. It is good to see you again.
We were just talking about history. Won't you join us?
A dry subject, he says, and then makes
Not
his way
always.
over and finds himself a seat with a nice little creak of whatever chair he's sitting in.
It depends on the lecturer, I think. And perhaps the topic.
Well, I'm quite certain that if Gerard has the topics in mind, he will let us know. I would not dare to force him into a conversation that he finds dry.
No, I think you would not.
If not gracious, ladies, please, he gestures at them. Proceed.
This is also true.
Well, not too long ago I heard of your gracious nature. I must say it is, well, I do not say that it was not needed in this situation, but still. When one gets your gracious nature, they are, well, you are not shy about it and you do not hide. It is commendable.
It is entirely possible that I exaggerate from time to time.
This sounds like a story behind a compliment.
Well, merely a observation. When Gerard introduced his, well, boot to the face of a young one, but, no, well,
The circumstances were different.
indeed.
Hmm.
I don't believe I have met you.
My apologies. I thought I'd seen you, but I will stand corrected.
I am easy to pick from a crowd.
And she'll just check him from head to toe, and she says that you most certainly are. Allow me to rectify my mistake and introduce myself. I am Irene Argyris, the child of Celine Alexandris of Glenmasombra. She will stand and curtsy very deeply.
He sort of tilts his head and arches a brow at the revelation of clan, but will nod. Gerard, second of his name, of Tours, of Clan Ventrue.
It is an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Hope so.
I think you are the first Ventrue I've ever met.
Am I?
Do
I'm
not
sure you've
recall.
heard terrible things, he says, with a manner of joking in his voice, but looking towards Madeline.
Terrible things.
Irene is quite young, but I cannot, I really do not understand what you are implying. You are a, you're not a man who lies, and that is rare enough. That is to be commended. Besides,
Should be pleased that memories are shorter than our lifespans.
hmm, true.
Oh, my
Even
lord.
though you might not find our, even though you may have certain hmm, reservations about the clan, our clan, I have always respected you in some way.
And I you. I suppose it's a lingering professional courtesy.
That would make sense. Irene here is a quite young child. I am helping her on her way.
Interesting. Her sire hires out for that sort of thing?
Well, I do consider myself a teacher, not just of mortals, but of Canaanites as well. And when some are want or is in need of teaching, I will offer my services. And when I offered my services, they were welcomed.
That's quite generous. He glances over to Irene. And what have you learned?
I learn every night that I walk the city, my lord.
Nods.
What are there any specific topics that you would prefer to hear my, well, progress on?
Not particularly.
Then I think I can safely say that I have learned a great many things and have incredible amount of great many things still to learn. After all, as my Lady Madeline said, I am but young, and our kind has gathered so much knowledge and so much wisdom over the course of the centuries.
It's always been my experience that knowledge and wisdom are secondary concerns. They come with time.
I think partially you are correct. However, if you do not have the wisdom to survive that long, you will not be able to obtain more wisdom.
Wisdom is a luxury very easily afforded to those in high clans.
So that just means that I am very fortunate.
Indeed.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's an
I
interesting
quite agree.
take on it, Gerard.
I would not recommend asking a gangrel their opinion on the matter.
Fair enough. Although I do believe that there is wisdom on many different fronts and levels where a gangrel can learn the knowledge and the wisdom of the lands, knowledge and wisdom of society. Different kinds of knowledge, different kinds of lessons, but all equally valuable in the end.
Equally? Only if you plan to go to ground.
Well, if such an occasion would arise, surely the gangrel would probably be a lot more appropriate for those tasks. In the end, our society needs farmers as well as kings.
I've never met a gangrel who was a farmer.
Or hunters.
It would be a very interesting lifestyle choice.
Fortunately, many Canaanites have the luxury of where they eat, unlike the rabble of the living. Years and experience will do that.
I admit you've piqued my interest, Irene. Now, I do wish to meet a farmer gangrel, even if I have to make one myself.
I find that perhaps on a more basic level, I am something of a farmer myself. My herd is quite expansive.
I've never thought of you as a farmer.
Well, in a sense, I suppose he is correct. It is, however, not sheep or cows he is hurting, but she looks at Gerard for a moment. Young, fair, noble ladies, perhaps?
And thus my point.
And is your harvest often bountiful, my lord?
It is as successful as I wish it to be. A force of personality much, much stronger than steel.
I do believe that it is quite few in this city who would well, partake in our hunting with a sword. It kind of, well, in a sense, it defeats the purpose, no?
How do you mean?
You do not wish for people to leak out what you require of them before.
Truth?
But then again, maybe there is a certain pleasure in it. I cannot say that I have ever been out hunting, so I would not know, but oh well.
You've never hunted.
No. Not with bow and arrow or spear or net. I have never hunted animals and I have never hunted humans in that sense.
I see.
To be so privileged.
Well, I suppose there is a hunt in what I do, but I have never been able, well, I've never had the need to do anything violent. They are all more than willing to do what I say.
Pliable enough.
I knew there was a kindness in you.
Lady, why do you insult me so?
Not you, Gerard. I meant Madeline.
I will admit the kindness that I do have can be very, very hard to find in certain situations for some people before they see the truth. But
Oh, I've seen the deeper hints.
and I hope you understand why I do what I do. You
I don't
have,
begrudge anyone their methods.
and yet, Gerard, you have never been under my tender care. There is a lot to learn from it, but I will not force the issue on you. But should you one day find yourself wanting it, I will be more than happy to learn.
I imagine that you are.
What most people who have seen, well, heard of certain things of me in this matter forget that I put myself in this situation myself just as much as I do with others.
Again, I don't begrudge anyone their methods.
Good.
Johanna is going to perception empathy Irene as this conversation goes on. She is curious.
Okay. Sure.
Three successes. She's watching to see whether Irene has any idea what they are talking about.
um, she is not 100% sure. It's more that she has some strong suspicions about what they're talking about. And she seems to be very much amused with this back and forth. And she seems to be actually checking both of them out.
Thank you.
Gerard knits his fingers together.
Is it wisdom, Irene, that you find yourself after? As Gerard has pointed out so graciously, it's not the only goal of the kindred. Would you say that it is that knowledge and wisdom are your primary focus?
For now, yes. I am, as my Lady Madeline pointed out, very young and have a lot to learn before I would even dare to step into the city fully confident by myself. In time, well, we all want to build something. We all want to be able to take care of our own problems and go our own way and choose our own path to follow. So, wisdom, knowledge, yes. For now, this is my primary goal. And in time, we will see.
A good, safe answer. Well spoken.
Much as Madeline has generously offered, seek me out. I can impart some wisdom if that's what you seek. Perhaps a different perspective on things.
That is very generous, my lord. I would be happy to. And she smiles and she kind of twirls a strand of hair around her finger.
Gerard is not known as a tight-fisted personality.
I'm beginning to think you don't know me very well, Johanna.
And how would you like to be known then, my lord Gerard?
To put it simply, if that is what she wishes to think of me, I say, own it. Make their own decision about me.
You hold no ambition in the city or in our society?
Yes, he does.
None whatsoever.
But you must have some goals.
Well, as a teaser of my current, I've just met with the prince and have had approved a construction venture outside of the walls.
This is delightful news. Congratulations.
An extension of the city or up to someone's domain?
Been mentioned that should the construction be to the prince's liking, he may even dub it a second Elysium.
Ah, you're returning to your old position. Congratulations. But hopefully.
I don't know if I would go that far. It wasn't my suggestion.
Well,
Perhaps it would Perhaps it would alleviate some rumors about my commitment to my position previous.
But regardless, it is a step in that direction, no?
It is simply I don't know, a vanity that I wish to entertain. Perhaps a legacy going forward that all may enjoy. They are of the true faith, like dear Johanna here.
Johanna indeed has a new light in her eye. She has forgotten about her troubles temporarily and looks extremely pleased by all of this.
But, my Lord Gerard, if this is a vanity project, as you say, then I am getting curious as to your not vain projects.
Perhaps you may yet see them. Perhaps not. Such is the way of things.
I see. I will look forward for that time then. And hope I will be able to look on it and recognize your hand in it.
I'm afraid I must be going. Gerard, congratulations on your permit.
Oh, the battle has only just begun. Many,
Well-
many approvals yet await.
I hope I can be of some assistance.
I should hope you are.
She smiles and rises to her feet and she curtsies to the group at large, kind of a offhanded gesture. It gives them all a smile, which is absolutely genuine. She is pleased with life right now. Good evening to all of you. Good luck in your endeavors. And she takes her leave. Goodbye, y'all.
Well, I hope that this endeavor will help you focus on things that will not conflict as much with certain other interests.
Of course, as with any such endeavor, I make no promises.
Yeah.
I hope so as well.
One can only hope that unfortunate misunderstandings do not occur again.
Accidents happen.
Surely they do. She looks, she doesn't look Gerard up and down, but she is sitting there for a moment, just taking in, well, the conversation in general, but also him, and just looking at him, and just take a few moments before she just changes the subject. So, this florist, this person apparently has struck again. Did any of you hear of this?
I admit I have been busy with other endeavors. I've not heard of it. Perhaps whispers, but jog my memory.
I have not heard of it since the first time we, well, since the time we encountered that very interesting building.
Well, there is a person who, on the surface, seems to be gifted in vicissitude, but I am not certain that it is a Sumitsi. That seems to be molding people in this city into grotesque statues. But the person not only does this in problematic places that are, well, quite accessible to the public, meaning that the silence of the blood is now more than once in danger, but it seems to be done within places that is owned or at least controlled by members of the court or members of the city. That is. That makes it a problem. The amount of, well, some of the places that this person has been able to reach has been quite alarming, if you ask me.
It would seem that this individual has something of a misnomer. Would it not be better to be called the sculptor?
Well, in a sense, all, however, of these sculptures seems to be formed in, made into plants or some bizarre mixture of flesh and plant. One was a tree with roots spreading across the entirety of a room. One was a two or three people meshed into each other to make a plant-like, well, structure. He does seem to have a propensity for flowers.
A rash of villainy.
Well,
First the Lady of Wrath, and now this florist.
well, yes, he does seem to have a flair for the dramatic, in a sense.
This for a moment. I suppose it would be in everyone's best interest to keep ears to the ground.
Well, it is becoming an increasing problem. I do not know if it will be too long before an official action is taken in this matter.
A
It will be,
hunt?
yes. However, without any leads, the hunt will be quite needless, since you do not know who you are hunting.
My thoughts exactly.
The more it will become a problem, the more it will pressure the powers that be, and the more we will all have to pool our efforts.
What do you think of all this, Irene? I'm curious.
It all sounds so. It all sounds quite overwhelming, my lord. I've seen one of these structures, and I was impressed and I might even say a bit frightened. I have never seen such a thing before. And this, you're speaking of a lady that I don't even know about, on top of the things that were already brewing in the city.
Well, she has been dealt with quite gallantly, as far as I heard, by Gerard himself.
Quite. But I'm curious, have you wondered at the motives? Either of you.
Of this florist.
Mm-hmm.
To show that he can. There was a note, he proclaimed it his artworks, but it is quite clear that he waits for Canaanites to be around to see them. He wants to be seen doing this. He wants an audience. I believe
His
this is
identity to be shown.
not that, but he wants everyone to know that he is capable of it. But there has
To
to
what
be,
end?
and that is my question exactly. There has to be more to it than that. One would not take this risk unless one is terribly passionate or insane about it.
Well, if he did want to show what he could do, he could have done that in many ways, yet he chose flowers. Flowers are used for many things and can hold many symbols. A rose is a flower of love, but many other flowers also have a meaning. I think there must be a reason why he chose specifically to create plant life out of flesh.
And whose flesh are we speaking of? Who are the known victims?
Well, mortals. I do not know if there were any ghouls involved.
Common station.
I think most of the individuals being used were, well, must have been commoners. I've not heard any rumors of noblemen or anyone really disappearing.
At least not yet. He might think that he needs to step up his exhibits.
But to create art as he does, if you want to call it art, how many people would go into one of these? Surely the city must have missed persons somewhere.
My thinking is that if this individual wanted attention, I would think that it would be counter to that goal if these were just displays meant for canine eyes. But perhaps that is the vanity in me. I should like to know who the victims were specifically. Perhaps I will ask the sheriff next I see him. I would assume.
He would be briefed on most of this. But,
Also,
oh, please, go ahead, Harry.
well, the thing that we've discovered, it had the capacity to not just defend itself, but because I didn't do anything to it, when I touched it, it tried to bite me.
Or he tried to what?
I touched it, and it bit me.
Vicissitude is a strange thing indeed.
It had some level of intelligence still there. But very primal. It wasn't capable of any form of communication.
And where was this?
It was in one of the buildings the Toreador own. And she looks to
In
Madeline
one of
for,
the guild halls.
yes.
Interesting.
We were following tutorials, going over there. We were to be shown it, but we were shown a bit more than was expected. I must say the Toreador that owns this place is a little bit suspect. Would it really be reasonable to think that a Toreador would not have people watching this place during the day? What was done in there would have taken time. So either a person has worked at the latest hours of the night before, and the place would have stayed open and not been touched with this living thing inside it. Or someone connected to this Toreador or himself did this and acted surprised and horrified when he, and she does quotations, found it, but then wanted to show it in person in his own weird way. But well, I am not in charge of this investigation. So
The easiest explanation, other evidence or thought put into it, is that the Tzimitzi and the Toreador, yeah, the Tzimitzi and the Toreador are ostensibly at odds with these distasteful alliances.
hmm.
Perhaps that is what they wishes it to be construed as.
Quite so, but one of the first was, well, the one that I saw was within the rack, and I could swear that whoever did it waited for me and a member of Clan Cappadocius to be near it to find it. This would not fit with any. Well, it was in a back alley, but it was not something that belonged to any clan. This would go against this potential political motivation.
Perhaps. Or it could be seen as a declaration against himself. The rack is a public place, is it not?
Quite so.
Such grotesque been found in true heirs territory?
Hmm.
Would we
I
even
know.
know?
I do believe we would. I do believe that he wants these things to be seen. I do not think he wishes to hide them. So people will see them. He will make sure of it.
I do not believe it is politically motivated insofar as this alliance. After all, if it were me and I were wanting to misdirect, that would be a very easy ploy to pull off.
Hmm.
Does anyone know if the Tzimitzi have already given or have spoken of this? Have rejected this idea?
No.
No public announcement has been made on that front.
They will have to sooner or later.
It looks very bad, yes. I am of the opinion, based on what I've heard anyway, that this is some unaffiliated third party.
I have come to quite the same conclusion. This is not one who has concerned himself or herself with politics. This is passion. This is about showing what they can do.
And much more difficult to root out.
Sadly, yes.
It's interesting that it is the second unaffiliated thing that is connected to, well, at least one of the powers that Tzimitzi has.
The first being.
There is a research going on. It is, well, the neonates are mostly looking into it. Disappearing murders in the streets. Different domains, there have been breaches. They're all over the city. When we tracked them down, there were two beings there.
Where?
South slums, I believe.
Slums.
Not the prettiest of places, no.
And not necessarily a place that is unused to killings and disappearances.
But a
Well,
place that any self-respecting Samitsi I know of would not find themselves.
no. The killings had been done randomly throughout the city with the exception of the nobleman's quarter, I believe. Even in Tremere territory we heard of killing being done in the middle of their domain. It was apparently done by a creature that could, well, we thought that it could be very fast and would travel most likely unseen through the sewers, or one of the suspicions is also that it could fly. And when we saw two creatures, they actually, well, there was a short physical confrontation with them before they fled. I only got to see one of them and she looked fairly human, but I believe the other one was not so.
Related to the florist. Stranger things have happened, I suppose.
I was just thinking maybe we are not acting, or we are not dealing with many loose, unaffiliated elements in the city, but just a bigger third party.
Really conspiracy of sorts.
Of sorts, it could be.
Interesting. That is an interesting theory.
It is only a theory. I have no proof whatsoever.
Well, they would not be good at what they do if it were rooted out this easily with evidence.
That is true.
Whatever the case, the streets are dangerous. Best we find some sort of conclusion.
If time permits it, I will look more closely into these florist matters. It is, I must admit, getting on my nerves. A full breach of the silence would be bad, very, very bad for us all. Just regardless of what clan might bear the brunt of the fault for it.
Quite. Have
Well,
ears to the ground in many places. Perhaps I can dig something up.
oh, I am sure that the sheriff would very, very much like to hear of it.
And quite unrelated, I find myself thirsting for a more physical confrontation than the last.
Oh, I'm quite sure that you will find them eventually if you keep looking.
They can't all be so careless as the Lady of Rothma, can they?
Indeed not. Let us just hope that our more hmm, furry friends do not make themselves appear again. That is a physical challenge that most of us could do without, no?
I dare not even think of it. I'm far too pretty for all that savagery.
There I must agree with you. Besides, there are more than one reason to keep away from you, even if they were to speak to you. They're in our kind, their kind and our kind should not mix in any way.
Well, count that as another lesson, Lady Irene. He pushes himself to his feet. Ladies, it has been an enlightening conversation.
Quite so. And
I thank you for the grim gossip.
it is my
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you for your lessons, Lord Gerard.
Again, the invitation stands to get a different perspective on things. I should be happy to impart it.
I will keep it in mind. Thank you very much.
Madeline will just see him out, and she will go over and sit down. And she will hear the very heavy footsteps uh, of Gerard leaving, and she will just look at Irene and just say, "I would recommend keeping your distance. It is publicly known within the clan that Gerard has worked against the interests of the clan more than once. There are quite a few who would see the fact that you would learn from him or get closer to him as a bad sign.
She nods slowly.
But a perspective for a few conversations. I do not see any harm in that. And unless there is anything else, I believe that this will be the moment we will end our scene.
Sure.
Thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.